Welcome back, everybody. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death for women in the United States. But new research suggests one simple addition to a weekly workout routine could actually make a really big difference.
A new study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found women who spent about 2 hours a week strength training significantly reduced their risk of cardiovascular disease. Joining us today to talk more about this is Dr. Vivek Goswami, a cardiologist with St. David's Heart Hospital of Austin and Austin Heart. Dr. Goswami, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I want to highlight a few things from this study, which are pretty astounding. The study found just 2 hours of strength training each week was linked to a 20% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a 44% lower risk of heart attack. Pretty astounding, but why is strength training so beneficial to someone's heart health, especially for women?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Historically, I think most people have appreciated that aerobic activity, treadmill, elliptical trainer, Stairmaster has been associated with longevity, reduction in heart attack, stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, less dementia, depression, and cancer. We haven't really studied the benefits of resistance or strength training as much. And I think this study is an important one to highlight that maybe we should be supplementing strength training incorporated with our aerobic training. The thought is that when we promote building of skeletal muscle is very metabolically active. And when we take in calories, those calories have to go somewhere. If we're deficient in skeletal muscle, those calories preferentially go towards visceral fat, which is not good. The more skeletal muscle we have, the higher proportion of calories go into that skeletal muscle, less visceral fat, less glucose intolerance and insulin resistance. Patients become more metabolically healthy and therefore less heart attack, stroke, and longevity. So brilliant.
You mentioned cardio. I think people think heart health, cardio, they go hand in hand. Why has strength training maybe taken a back seat? Why have we not recognized or studied some of those benefits you just mentioned?
I can't tell you for sure, but I think, the benefits of cardio when you lose weight and you can see the weight loss and less visceral fat, it seems a little bit more obvious. I think because of the mechanism of promoting skeletal muscle growth, I think maybe because that mechanism isn't as direct, people don't equate it to heart health or longevity. The other thing that's important to realize is as we get older, we have a tendency to lose muscle mass, and that makes us more metabolically unhealthy. So getting ahead of that, I think, is important for a lot of reasons.
I think it's good for people who are listening to this conversation to learn about what are some of the ways that count as strength training. So what would you like them to understand about that? Because they might be wanting to change up the routine or perhaps add something.
Yeah, I think typically when we're talking about resistance training or strength training, we're talking about free weights, machines, things that involve, something other than just getting your heart rate up and keeping it up like we'd see with aerobic activity.
Okay, for someone who might hear weight training or strength training and it seems a little scary, what do you recommend? Is starting small? I mean, I'm talking from experience. Sometimes I'm the one in there with the 5-pound weights, but how much weight does one need to add to really see these benefits?
Yeah, I certainly think it's a marathon, not a sprint. And starting off small and being consistent over time is really what we're talking about. So certainly we wouldn't encourage anyone jumping into this in an over-aggressive manner where they could risk injury. So I think starting off slow, listening to your body, these are all keys to success. And I think it's also important to remember that no one's going to take better care of us than we are. So it's what we do or don't do every single day that makes the largest impact, more than what doctor you're seeing or what test you're getting. So things we're putting in our body, the activity that we're engaging in or not engaging in, that really is the secret to prevention of a lot of disease and living good, high-quality health spans and longevity.
You've highlighted quite a few things for people to kind of keep in mind to improve their own heart health, but are there perhaps some other issues or topics that you would want to touch on, particularly for female patients out there, to make sure that their health is good and only improves?
Yeah, and I think we should be treating daily exercise and diet as a prescription, not something that's just elective. I think a lot of us, we're busy with either careers, family, etc., and we tend to fit in exercise or being healthy to ourselves if we're not too busy with work, or if it's not raining out, if our knees don't hurt, our backs don't hurt. I think we should flip that. And if there's a day that goes by where we're not exercising or eating healthy, that should be analogous to not taking our medication that day. It shouldn't just be the selective thing. That should be the prescription. and everything else should be secondary. Because if we don't have our health, all those things that are very important to us won't matter.
Do you think that's something that has really changed with essentially prescribing that kind of physical activity, and within even your own career?
I do see a change, and I think a lot of, especially the younger generation, seem to be taking a more proactive approach to their health, and I think it's great. I mean, you know, obviously our careers and our families are important, but they don't exist if we don't have our health. So prioritize. If we're busy with careers and family, all the more reason we cannot neglect taking care of ourselves.
Dr. Goswami, such good insight always, and great insight for this study as well. We so appreciate it. And I'm feeling called out on a rainy day where I don't want to go to the gym, so that's a good reminder for all of us to get to the gym if you can. Find somewhere indoors today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it.